Welcome back to Aaron Talks. Today, we're going to talk about something that I actually don't like. I am not a big fan of sports. There, I said it. I know it's controversial, but there it is. I hate sports. For one thing, I was never very good at them. But for another thing, I just kind of find them all boring as hell. I prefer a good movie any day of the week. A strong narrative gets me where I want to go. It tells me a story. It tells me something I want to see. That said though, sports can tell stories. And when they tell the right stories, I'm interested. So, here is my top 5 sports movies for people who don't like sports. Number 5. A League of Their Own. Based on the true story of the Professional Women's Baseball League, all I can say about this movie is the reason it works for me is because it's about the team. It's yes, there are some central characters, but overall this is an ensemble movie and it's about the team and the people involved in that team and what makes that team strong. That's why I enjoy the movie. You've got characters that come from all branches of life, and it's funny and it's poignant, and it's got these really great dramatic beats in the midst of a lot of comedy, which I find really intriguing about this film. Now on top of that, you've got the fact that it's based on the true story in as much as there was actually a professional women's baseball team at one point. Now, to me, this is something I think if you were to ever bring back, it could potentially do well. I may be wrong. I don't know. I'm not a sports guy, like I said. But I like the idea of women having their own things that can help to make, lift women up off the ground, as it were. The reason this movie works for me so well is because you see these teammates doing that very thing. You see these women lifting each other up over their shoulders to make each one of them better. You also see, at least in my opinion, you see a lot of the double standard about women and why this sport went away as quickly as it did. The war was ending. So as a result, this thing that had popped up to replace men's baseball was suddenly going away because men were coming home. Men wanted to play professional baseball. Women women no longer had a place there because the men were coming back. Kind of like the women who were putting together things in factories and the factory workers of that time period who were having to return home to the kitchen because this movie has a lot in common with a show like Bomb Girls, just for example, at least in my mind. But the reason I love this movie and think that it's such a great sports movie is because of that team dynamic, that ensemble cast that lifts people up and makes them stronger as a unit. So, that's my number 5 choice.
Are you crying?
No.
Are you crying? Are you crying? There's no crying. There's no crying in baseball.
What are you...
4. Number 4 is Miracle. Now, the 1980 U.S. Miracle on Ice hockey team. That's something that I imagine, at least, that sports fans still talk about if they're a fan of hockey. Now, for me, when I saw the film in theaters for the first time, I was wowed by it. Again, not unlike A League of Their Own, this movie is all about the team dynamic and how can this team, go up against the Russian hockey team and beat them. Well, that's the trick, isn't it? You need that strong team dynamic to build each other up, to make each other whole again, so that you can take on those odds without having to compromise anything. Any good teammate is going to be the one that's there for you to catch you when you fall, and that's what's so great about this movie is you've got an amazing cast in this film. And this cast is amazing for multiple reasons. One, they're playing real people. And from what I understand, I could be off on this, but I believe this is correct. from what I understand, the original U.S. hockey team actually coached these boys in, you know, how to act, what they did during that time period, you know, basically coached them on who they were as people at that point in their life. To me, that's incredibly interesting for multiple reasons. The reason I'm bringing it up, though, is it goes back to that team dynamic. These guys were still working as a team to make sure that this movie about them came together in the right way. Again, much like A League of Their Own, it's based on a true story, and it's based on this time before the U.S. got involved in putting professionals on the ice rink. Nowadays, you look at a U.S. hockey team, everyone on that roster is going to be a professional NHL player. You know, it's just like, what happened? Where are our amazing amateurs like the Miracle on Ice team that, you know, get the chance to prove their worth and win Olympic gold for their country? So, that's why number 4 is Miracle.
Great moments are born from great opportunity. And that's what you have here tonight, boys. That's what you've earned here tonight. One game. If we played them 10 times, they might win 9. But not this game. Not tonight.
Number 3 is Major League. Now, this is a comedy, but much like our previous 2 films, it's an ensemble comedy all about the team and the team dynamic and how you're going to see this team go from a ragtag team to a team that's going to do something amazing. Now, what's interesting to me about this film is just how much talent is involved in it. You've got some real A-list talent, at least in my opinion, A-list comedy talent in this film. Charlie Sheen, of course, you know, who later went on to do 2.5 Men, and yes, he may have kind of blown up his career now, but back then he was still very marketable and very funny. And then, of course, you've got people like Rene Russo, who came into their own a little bit later, but, you know, she's very good in this film, and, you know, it's just, I can't really say enough good things about this movie. The reason it works for me, personally, is because it's a movie that reminds us just how funny real life can be. Because you've got these people who are doing this thing that is already larger than life to some degree. Because let's face it, how many of us actually would ever have the chance to play professional baseball? It's a very limited skill set in the United States, at least to my mind. So you have to imagine yourself heightening up what that experience could be like to make it funny, to make it into a comedy. So, you know, you've got characters that, you know, just for example, and spoilers again, you know, just for example, they pray to a voodoo doll just for extra strength at the bat and good luck in the game. Yeah, that's kind of funny to me. So, yeah, I mean, can't really get into anything more specific about this movie, but I think if you're a fan of comedies and if you're a fan of comedy sports movies, definitely give Major League a try. I think you have a lot of fun with it, and I think that it's the kind of movie that will grow on you with age. Certainly did with me, because I didn't really find it all that funny when I was a kid, but as an adult, I think it's great.
Thank you.
Oh, shit.
Let's cut through the crap, Vaughn. I only got one thing to say to you. Strike this motherfucker out. Okay.
Number 2 on the list, Friday Night Lights. Like the last several films I've talked about, this one is all about the team and the team dynamics. That's the thing about this list. If you look at this list, it's all about teamwork, and it's all about movies that have a lot of teamwork in them. Friday Night Lights, for me, works because I love the idea of that small town that, you know, just has to just has to go on Friday night to watch the big game because they're that into the sport. Now, as much as I love that idea, again, not a sports fan here, but that's why this movie works for me. It's a great dynamic about, you know, how important sports can be to a small town when that's practically the only thing people in that town live for. Friday Night Lights works because it's not an underdog movie in the purest sense of an underdog movie. It's a movie, though, where you've got the character dynamics and their behind-the-scenes relationships with the game. You know, you've got characters that maybe don't want to play football anymore, or characters that are worried that if they don't play football that their parents aren't going to love them as much. And it's that kind of dynamic that makes this film work, because you've got the interspersings of the sports with the politics of personal life and how they mesh or don't mesh. Again, though, it's about teamwork, and it's about these teammates coming together to realize a victory on that gridiron. So, that is why Friday Night Lights is number 2.
What?
You sure he's part of your gene pool, Charlie?
Shit.
Red alert, everybody.
What about the expectations of coaching a team like this in a community like this?
Well, I guess there's always a surprise or two in every community.
Ball. Just concentrate on hanging on the ball. Both hands, okay?
Hey.
Both hands, that's
Donnie.
all.
Hey, come here. Come here. What's the problem?
Get off the field, Dad.
Why can't you hold on to the football? It's so goddamn hard about holding on to it.
I'm sorry.
All you gotta do is hold on to the goddamn football, and you can't do it. Tell me why you can't do it. Just tell me. That's all I wanna know.
I'll try better next time.
Come on. Hey,
Charlie.
don't you walk away from me. Don't you walk away from me when I'm talking to you. You hear me? Tell me why you can't hold on to the ball.
Enough.
Come on.
Mr.
Billy,
Leave him
answer a
alone,
question.
please.
Answer. First day of practice,
This is
Mr. Billy. You better
practice.
hold on.
Seriously.
God, come on.
Enough. Charlie. Okay.
Embarrassing me out here.
Okay.
Christ.
It's all right, John.
Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, this is a pretty different list. It's an odd list. Well, what's your number 1 pick? Well, number 1 is probably a lot of people's number 1. My favorite sports movie for someone who doesn't like sports, Rudy. Now, part of the reason I love Rudy as much as I do is because I didn't see it when it originally came out. Rudy was a movie I saw much later in life. In fact, I only saw it for the first time maybe 5 years ago. Now, I love Sean Astin as an actor. I think he's a really good actor, and he does a phenomenal performance in this film. With that said, though, the reason this film works is this movie is a true underdog movie. It's a movie about perseverance. It's a movie about overcoming your odds and your circumstance to do the thing you want to do, to show that you are capable. Rudy's story is the story that most of us could learn something from. It's, again, based on a true story, and it's something that makes you question everything you've ever been told you weren't capable of doing. It's that movie that inspires you, even if you're not an athlete. It's that movie that makes you go, if Rudy can do it, I can do it. That's why Rudy is my number 1 pick. That's why I love it as a film. That's why it's one of the best films ever made in the sports genre. So, if you enjoyed this list and would like to see more, don't forget to subscribe to Aaron Talks. Hit that bell icon so that you can be notified next time Aaron Talks has a video uploaded. I'm Aaron, I've been talking, and I'll see you next time.